I'm Leslie.
I'm Rob.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Jim.
I'm Jonathan, and we are District 97.
And you're watching Morow.com.
Above my head, I'm sick and tired of leaving things alone. Start terrifying all the folks.
Well, Rob and I, and Patrick, who is transporting John Wetton at the moment, grew up together, and we started playing together when we were teenagers, and we had various bands throughout that period, and we decided to reconnect and form another band when we were in college, and we then added Leslie and Jim, who we met at the Chicago College of Performing Arts back in 2008. And here's Patrick joining us now. So yeah, that's how we started.
I know how crazy it is, thinking it's love.
Yes, both, and all sorts of other places. I think we all, at various times in our life, have taken private lessons and had bands from, kind of as young as we were able to get it together and try to write music and all that. We all went to the same conservatory in Chicago for a little bit of time. I think, were we all there at the same time ever? Or?
I wasn't with
Maybe
you.
not.
You'd already dropped it there. Well, you'd already.
Yeah, that's true. There was, the overlap was there. Yeah, so kind of from all over. We're all professional musicians in Chicago and play in a lot of different kinds of groups and play different kinds of music. So our education continues.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you meet Leslie?
I went to music school with them as well. That's how I met them. So we went to college together for music.
Could you tell us more about this pop idol thing? Because it's very advertised on your
yes, it is.
on the site.
Well, I was top 20, so I was top 10 females in 2007 on American Idol, and shortly thereafter, after I came back to Chicago, that's when I joined District 97, because they were already joined as an instrumental group, and then I became their lead vocalist after that.
Okay, but it's not because you were on TV. It's just because you were friends before.
Yes, it's not because I was on TV.
It's because she's very talented.
Yeah, just because she's the right singer for the band.
And she happened to have been on TV.
It doesn't hurt the bio. My musical influences are very broad. My dad was a jazz musician my whole life, and I feel influenced by the music that he brought into my life from that. And my mom was a singer as well growing up, and so she exposed me to a lot of Joni Mitchell and various singer-songwriter sorts of singers. And then on my own, I got really into Bjork at a younger age, and I think that she helped me learn how much power I could have in my voice. And yeah, that's all I got right now.
Yeah, growing up, my parents listened to a lot of different kinds of music. My mom is a like classical organist and pianist, and so I heard a lot of that kind of music, like Bach and things like that, and more contemporary music like Messiaen. But my dad is a really big jazz fan, and through him and he's also somewhat of a prog fan. So through him, I kind of got exposed to all of, the classic prog stuff like ELP and Yes, and also jazz. And that's kind of, for me, if I'm kind of coming from one place, it's more the jazz with I've always had an interest in improvisation. But, I also love Nirvana, and I love to just play really loud too. So I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty similar to Rob. I really like a lot of heavy metal, and I like a lot of classical music, and very influenced by a lot of jazz stuff, and also all the classic prog, especially Geddy Lee, Chris Squire, John Wetton, etc. The list goes on.
Yeah, my first musical memory is basically my parents playing the Beatles in the car when I was a child. So I basically was obsessed with the Beatles from a very early age, and I think that inspired me to play the guitar and the electric bass. I actually started on electric bass and played for a couple years. And I was listening to just a lot of guitar and rock music, like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and the Beatles and things that were people that were popular at the time when I started playing rock music, like Nirvana and Soundgarden and Silverchair, bands like that. And I just kind of always been really interested in that, and started getting interested in jazz when I was in junior high school and high school. And my brother-in-law was my jazz instructor in college or in high school. And he got me interested in a lot of really great and diverse musics in the jazz genre. Then I went to college as a jazz major, and kind of just have always been interested in a lot of different stuff. I studied classical a little bit for a couple years when I was younger. So yeah, I try to run the gamut if I can.
Like Jim, the Beatles were huge for me, and for about a decade, from about the age of 4 through 14, I only listened to the Beatles. And from there, I moved on to Led Zeppelin, and that took about another 2 years or so.
Only 2?
Well, I guess maybe it was, more like 4 through 12 only Beatles. So yeah, then Zeppelin, and then I heard Yours Is No Disgrace by Yes on the radio, and that really bowled me over. And so then I bought every Yes recording known to man. And from there, I kind of spread into the other seminal prog bands and some of the more obscure ones, and Patrick, Rob, and I would bounce various bands off of each other. And that also spread to a lot of jazz music as well. So, I think that's my background.
When we, so Jonathan, Patrick, and I are from the same town, Oak Park, Illinois, and that's the name of the primary school district there. Patrick and Jonathan actually go all the way back to, I think, age 10 or 11. I was in the same district, but at a different school. So when we put this group together, we thought, this is where we come from, but it also kind of has the sound of like a hard rock band at the same time. So.
Well, Hybrid Child certainly is sci-fi. Jonathan, why don't you pick that up?
Okay, well, yeah, in regards to Hybrid Child, the first half of the album is really not thematically connected in any way, really. But the second half is taken up by a 27-minute suite, if you will, called Mind Scan, and that was the culmination of a period of, a few years where I was very interested in alien abduction, just the phenomenon of people who believe that when they go to sleep, essentially aliens come and take them away. And so I read a lot of books on the subject, and I wrote that piece about it, and then after that, I kind of got it out of my system.
Do you want to talk about Trouble with Machines?
Sure, yeah. We took a short road trip where we were playing a concert. When we had recorded the album, we were trying to kind of figure out what we wanted to say with our second album. And Jonathan and I, thanks to Jonathan, I went back and was watching a lot of the early Twilight Zone episodes. And we were kind of discussing about that, and kind of there's like a pretty interesting episode, classic Twilight Zone episode with like servants that are machines that are kind of serving these people, and they end up kind of turning on them. And we kind of looked at that as kind of symbolic for kind of the machines like in our society, like government and the economy and things that have kind of turned against us over these last few years in the States at least, and also around the world. And kind of how they're kind of machines beyond our control that have kind of got a little bit out of our control. And so we just kind of want to make a statement about that some of these things are kind of,
Troublesome.
Troublesome.
Originally, he contacted us, not to play, but he sent an email to the band email address asking for a T-shirt, and after we, our first response was, is this really you? And then once, we found out that it really was. We sent the shirt, and he wore it, at a festival he was at, I believe, where he was going to have his picture taken, and that was lovely. And then we had this song. Jonathan wrote a piece called "The Perfect Young Man," which the whole song kind of has a bit of a storyline, and there's a male character and a female character. And the original concept was to have Leslie just sing both parts, just tell the whole story from both perspectives. And then I believe it was Patrick. Patrick had the half-joking idea of, when we record, maybe have John Wetton, sing. Just, hey, let's, we're friendly with him, kind of. Let's just throw it out there. And we were expecting him to say, no, I'm, for whatever reason. But he actually said yes. And so he's on this one track on our album. And so that was kind of the beginning of, the conversation about him working with us down the road.
We have no idea.
I'm still figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a very kind, easygoing man, and he's very excited about music in general, I think, still to this day in his long career. And we're very excited that he is enthusiastic about us enough to join us on these shows. It's really an honor.
I think it's a smaller scale than what he's used to, but there's no way, we would have been able to bring as many people out per show if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Because we're pretty new still, and we've never been to Europe. And he certainly has.
And last question: how the choice of the King Crimson songs have been made? Because it's not the most popular or the most obvious ones.
They're the best ones.
Yeah, well, I think at least for the three of us, we grew up listening to a lot of King Crimson, and especially the albums that John is on. And we wanted to pick songs that feature him heavily, so that he sings a lot, because he's not going to be playing bass with us. That was his choice, for the record. But he, so we wanted to pick songs that featured him heavily that were off the albums, obviously, that he was on, with the exception of 21st Century Schizoid Man, which is a bit of a treat. And we basically just talked about it and said, well, what are our favorite songs from these albums? And we said, hey, would you like to do these? And he said, yeah, sounds great. So
Wow.
the whole tour with John, it's really funny because it seems too easy and too good to be true, but it's really just he's that nice of a guy and he's that easygoing that we're just like, hey, do you want to come on tour with us? He's like, sure. He's like, want to play these songs? Sounds great.
Well, see you at the gig, John.
We were concerned too about how to act when we were going to meet with him, what it was going to be like to introduce that sixth person dynamic, and we were at the airport in London, and we saw him at the end of this massive line to
Longest
get to
airport
our
line
longest line I've ever seen.
Thousands of people.
Thinking he was gonna come in and be like, Christ, what have I gotten myself into? And I just to kind of gauge the situation, I gave him one of these from
We saw him from the very
the end of the line, and he's just like.
And they just came right up and cut in line with all these other people.
We knew instantly that our sixth member was here to stay.
Yeah.
And that he fits in, immediately fits in. We're laughing constantly and making hilarious jokes. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.